Right, boss man. I got this, yeah.
Jukes in that video that is Brandon Jacobs, and really all he does is take one step and then just like run into the end zone. But for Brandon Jacobs, that was a impressive.
I thought I saw Victor Cruz in there.
Yeah, there was a Victor Cruz. A lot of them were Shady McCoy, which he was just human highlight reel every single week. There was one Johnny Football from college where he made somebody look stupid. But, of course, once he got to the NFL, that abruptly ended. But, he was fun to watch in college anyway.
I saw Jordan Reed in college one there, too, at Florida. I remember one specific play along the sidelines that I don't know why I remember it, but I do.
Matt, I think we might be picking up a room mic.
Are you?
Yeah.
Check.
It sounds...
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
That's how we do it on the show. We do it live.
It happens to me in the truck all the time. For some reason, whenever I'm doing the morning show from the truck, my phone does not default to my headset. It always defaults to the phone mic. So I sometimes forget. I have to go in there and manually change it over to the headset. It didn't used to do that. Yes, you're good now. It didn't used to do that, and then one of the Apple updates, after the update, then it stopped defaulting to the headset. So, fuck you, Apple, very much. Moving on to actual football talk. Now that we've got all our technical difficulties out of the way, what y'all think about I want to wait for Buck, but Buck was also a little bit on the iffy side. So, man,
we could kind of kill some time here if you want. I had one thing I was going to say. I was looking to see you. So Tho said he might show up. Buck might. So we'll see what happens. Especially this last couple weeks with the World Cup and then the crazy NFL slates that everyone's been talking about. You've seen a lot more like normie Twitter. I'll be normie. I would say like politics Twitter. Now that's like normie Twitter to me. So all the politics people, they're all. I've seen a lot of the same sentiment. This sports ball sentiment. People are like, "Oh, stupid sports ball. You just like to watch a bunch of black guys in tights run around hitting each other." Now, first of all, if that's your perception of football, that it's a bunch of black guys in tights running around hitting each other, I think that says more about you than it does about me, because that's definitely not the first thing that I would think of. But I think that perhaps this is a potential subject for the podcast at some point in future seasons or something like that. But I think that there's a big dearth of content that's explicitly right-wing, conservative, Christian, whatever you want to call it, that is sports focused. That isn't like neo-boomer stuff. Super like just like kind of corny oorah boomer. Like what are they, the guys I just completely blanked. Clay Travis and
Jason Whitlock.
Jason Whitlock. Yeah, they're kind of like neo-boomers.
Yeah.
But there's no like based sports content. And this is a big gap, I think, because there's nothing about sports that is inherently paused. It doesn't have to be, by paused, I mean like postmodernized. It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, I think that sports, like being a devout sports fan of your team, following your team closely, having a community of people that follow and root for the team, particularly if it's associated with like a geographical location, is incredibly wholesome and based, in my opinion. And all of this, like if I hear someone use the term sports ball unironically, that's a really big signal to me that this person has never engaged in any sort of athletic endeavor in their life, because you cannot have participated in any sort of team sport or athletic thing and look at it and think that this is some kind of like stupid gay waste of time. I mean, it could be pretty gay sometimes, but considering it a stupid waste of time is just ridiculous. There's so many things about whether it's you're talking like art of war type strategy stuff with like football schemes or even basketball, baseball, soccer. All of these there's a ton of strategy that goes into them. That are very heady. There's camaraderie and teamwork and the physical exploits, being able to overcome your mind, being able to emotionally grab hold of a moment and wrestle it in favor of yourself. All of these things are all, I don't know, for lack of a better term, these are all very based things. These are all things that are good to have mastery of. And there's nothing gay or stupid at all about watching other people engage in these things and rooting for them and cheering them on. Right. And then the last thing I'll say about this is the height of irony here is that all of these little Twinkie neckbeards that will talk sports ball, they'll turn around and they'll give you their list of guys whose thoughts they think all the time. Here's my favorite list of thinkers. What is more gay? My favorite list of extraordinary athletes I like to watch, or my favorite list of nerdy dorks who wrote books all the time whose thoughts I like to think in the place of my own. I think the latter is quite a bit more gay, if you're asking me.
Well, and all of the team sports require, like you said, it's even the more individualistic sports like basketball and baseball. Like there's still a lot of teamwork required in that. Like no pitcher achieves a perfect game by striking out 27 hitters. Like it's everybody on that field, and even if even if he did that, the catcher still plays
Right.
as much of a role as the pitcher in all of that. So like there is no team sport that is, no matter how individualistic it may be, there's always a flow of how every piece works together to make the whole become a thing. And even in the more individualistic combat sports, like the one-on-one type things like MMA or jiu-jitsu, wrestling, even tennis, like stuff like that, where that's just strictly you against the other person, there's
Golf.
still a lot of strategies. There's still a lot of discipline. There's still a lot of things that honestly would make some of those people better human beings and more prepared for the future that's probably to come than any of the reading that they're going to be doing is going to make them. And then even like in the, like, I don't know how you would group like soccer, NASCAR, or not soccer, like NASCAR, golf, some of those that it's kind of one-on-one, but it's also like a group sport where it's one-on-one. Like even
one
those
versus many.
Yeah, there's huge amounts of strategy and also like all of the athletes in those talk about like their biggest competition is inside their head, like
Yes.
just conquering their own deficiencies and stuff to be the best athlete that they can be. And if they can be the best them, then that puts them in a good position to be better than everybody else. Like it's almost more competing against yourself than it is the rest of the field. And like there's so much life value that can be taken out of sports, and you can really see it in people. Like you can almost look at people and tell like you never played a sport, and that's I hate that. I feel that's kind of embarrassing for some people that like you can just look at them and be like, yeah, you never played anything. Like you have never done anything to discipline your body in any way.
You were picked last in kickball. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who wants to say that golf or NASCAR, I mean, I've never been a NASCAR fan. I watch a little bit of like Formula One and stuff, but the racing stuff never really got me. But I have an appreciation for it. Anybody who wants to say that golf or those in particular, I can't think of anything else at the top of my head that's similar right now, but those ones in particular are very clearly sports. It very clearly requires athletic capacity to like an elite degree. Sitting and driving a car at incredibly high speeds for a long period of time is immensely physically taxing.
I say
Golfing,
most of you motherfuckers can't drive 35 in the city, much less do 200 miles an hour with 18 other guys who are also doing 200 miles an hour.
right. And if you've never walked 18 holes of golf, then oh man, I've especially like out in the summer in college, we'd go out and we'd play like 36 holes consecutively. I've never been more tired in my life. I would wake up the next day feeling like a truck hit me. And this was in basically like, I guess like my athletic prime. Golf is an extremely strenuous sport.
Yeah. I'm just going to bump in real quick and just say ditto to what both of you said. Fucking kudos, Matt. Could not agree more. I think that when athletics is operating at its peak, it is the most based. It exudes all of the principles and, you know, all of the things that I think are good and wholesome. Like you said, that's why I'm a bigger college football fan than I am professional sports. Not that I don't like professional sports, not by that much, but there's something very tribal about geographic locations of a condensed community of like-minded individuals rooting together for a common outcome. And I just think that when you're operating at your peak, that's why all the sports ball fuckers can just go fuck off, because it's not just the aptitude that they display on the field. It's like today is early signing period just started in college football. The amount of work, thousands of hours that went in just to get a win on the basis of attracting a student, an athlete, an athlete to your program to come improve themselves, that they can withstand your training regiment, your culture, adapt into that, and then perform at a high level. It's more than just what happens on the weekends. This is it's a lifestyle for the people that are in it, and for those of us who enjoy watching it. I know people that arrange their wedding dates around what sports are being played because they know that half of the family's not going to be there. And you can say that's sad or whatever, but you would do that for anything else. If you respect somebody else's schedule, you work around other people's schedules to make things happen. And I just think that there's a lot more good that comes out of being a sports fan, and it's just too easy to critique it when you just don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if you've ever been around like diehard Hoosier fans or diehard like UK fans, when it comes to March Madness and their team is in the tournament, they get together at somebody's house every day over the weekend and watch the games. Like every game throughout the tournament, they're cooking, they're having these big meals. The wives and mothers are all sitting in another room talking and watching a different game that they want to watch, and all the men are outside watching the big games. And like it is what you want to see of like covenant community type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this stuff builds that. Like you can't have played a sport at any level beyond Pee-wee and not have come away building camaraderie with the people that you played with. Like my high school buddies that I played football with, we still get together, around Thanksgiving most of the time. We didn't do it this year, but almost every year we get together around Thanksgiving and just hang out and drink and talk about like football and talk about when we played and things that we remember, things that like bonded us together, and we're bonded for life. And we don't have any of the same political, me and a couple of the guys that I hang out with, like we do not have any of the same political beliefs, but by God, I know if something comes up in my life and I need help, all I have to do is call that dude and he will be there 100% of the time. And it's the same for him with me. Like there are bonds that you build through that stuff that go beyond the, reading philosophy and dumb bullshit like that.
You can't tell me that you're pro-nationalism and then say being a diehard fan of a sports team is gay, because it's the exact same dynamic, particularly when it's something like college sports where it's tied to a given location, or even, I grew up being a Seahawks fan because I lived in Seattle, a Mariners fan, going through the 90s, following the Mariners, A-Rod, Edgar, Randy, Griffey, all these guys. It was part of the local culture. If you went out wearing a uniform of the team, people would like engage with you and talk to you. Oh, hey, yeah. It's like immediately, you're on the same team. You're comrades. You can see how many people I can trigger with all this. It's all the exact same dynamic. And if you want to attach yourself to, you want to, adopt a team, you grew up in, I don't know, Montana, and you decide to become a Cowboys fan. So you just have poor taste, but still you went and adopted a new country for yourself and you consider that those people are part of your family. That's part of your community now.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not, don't necessarily have a native attachment to it. It'd be the same as if you went and got a job in Dallas and moved down there. And, now I'm in San Antonio now. I've got a bunch of friends and stuff now who are in San Antonio or Austin, that this is part of my community now. And a sports team is just, there's no reason to create these arbitrary distinctions where, like a job and like a career and then a philosophy and, whatever else are all one thing. And then following a sports team is just something completely different and gay. It doesn't, no, this is just nerd cope.
Yeah. Yeah. And a way that a society entertains itself tells you something about the people that construct, that society. And going back to this is my tribe, these are my people kind of a thing. My comrades, I believe is what you said. Like perfect example, my mom, who was born and raised in the South and, in downtown Atlanta, married a man who had a job that was going to get her kind of picked up and moved around a lot. Now is in northern Maine, where there's not a sports field within a fucking hundreds of miles. But she proudly wears her Georgia gear and her Atlanta Braves gear. And half the people up there ask her, what is that? They're clueless. They're not in the tribe. They don't know. Now it helps when we're winning World Series and national championships that they then put it. Oh, so that was you. This must be really important for you. She starts getting congratulated on the streets when people, obviously they say it funny because it's like, oh, I can't do a Maine accent, but she responds back, oh, well, thank you very much. And they don't understand her either. So it kind of works out in a little natural comedy, but she starts taking credit for the thing because everybody is a general universal language. It's like, you're a fan of that team did well, congratulations, because I know you're happy. This brought you joy. This is something that you probably have family and friends back home, that this is your linking metric. This is the excuse. And I think the underwriting thing of all this is sports can be used as an excuse to bond, as an excuse to get together and have fellowship. And this 100%. This is what I've told a bunch of boomers that were like, I used to be a fan of this. And then, they started kneeling for the flag, or they have end racism on the back of their helmets. And I'm like, yeah, here's the thing. Are you a mindless adult that just blindly follows whatever you're looking at? Or can you see past all this bullshit and still use it for your own benefit? Use it for your own gain, and that is to maintain and develop a community. It's still there. Nothing about that's changed. What they want are people that don't think like that to come in and just be a corporate fan. I wear the shirt with all the logos on it because I'm just an NFL fan. No, fuck that.
It's like the meme of Rob Lowe sitting in the stands wearing an NFL hat. And he's just like,
well, that's been talked about a lot down here because we have the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, obviously with Ohio State taking on Georgia, and a lot of the tickets, it's been sold out for months. The teams were just announced 3 weeks ago, and the people that buy up all those tickets are corporate types. And what is used as the moniker is, you got a bunch of Rob Lowe and NFL hats out there that are just going to be upselling you on the seat. So that is used as a pejorative, I think, universally, for once you get to a certain point, Super Bowls, college football playoffs, World Series, things like that, the real fans don't have access to that. And that's a totally different discussion. But to me, that is the league hurting its best asset, and that is the fans. And that's where the fans go, I can hate on this and protest and boycott and all this other gay shit, or I can work around it, invite my tribe to me, and we do our damn thing in spite of their obvious goal to root me out of this formula.
Yeah, it's being a part of a sports community. You can say whatever you want about different political ideologies and spheres and people who get real worked up about that kind of stuff. But when you're part of a sports community, like there's a bond and a connection that happens that is different than anything else. And it's something that that's missing from society. And I think that's deliberate. Like when you look at any of the dystopian future type things, there's never sports. There's never anything even remotely like this. That stuff always disappears in all of those scenarios, because it's something that bonds people together. It brings people together, and it gives you that thing that connects you. And in all of the dystopian futures, like that's the thing, is it's always super individualistic. People are not connected to each other. And like, that's kind of the rabid individualism thing that we see from some of our old kind of political stomping grounds and things like that.
Our shadows.
Yeah, there's a value to community. There's a value to being bonded to other people, not just believing in the individual and nothing is higher than that. There is something in society that is much higher than your individual whatever bullshit. And finding that and linking up with that and having a true bond with that, like what you get from sports and different things that are of this nature, that takes us a lot further societally than reading 17 books in the last 6 months or whatever.
Yeah. In short, the shortest way to put it, don't let the fags win.
Speaking of the fags not winning, the Buck hadn't made it, and we got to talk about it. The Patriots.
I mean, we're 25
lost.
minutes in. I think we've got
the Patriots lost in impressive fashion. Why a wide receiver would throw a reverse lateral or a lateral that far backfield, like 15 yards backfield, to the quarterback, I will never understand. Of course, then it gets picked off midair by a defender who then stiff arms the quarterback into the ground and trots into the end zone for the touchdown. What's the logic behind your receiver throwing the ball? like, especially when you're tied, like just
go down
and go to overtime and have a chance to, like, you don't have to win in regulation.
Uh-oh. Matt's muted.
One of the DFS podcasts that I listened to said that they placed the blame actually on Ramondre Stevenson for lateraling it to Myers in the first place, because they said as soon as he did that, it like scrambled Jacoby Myers' brain. Because like, you know, you're sitting on the couch and you're well aware of what the situation is and everything. On the field, you don't have like a little graphic right down in the corner of your TV telling you what everything is that you could just glance down at any point. You're keeping track of this stuff on the fly, but you've also been in this type of situation a whole different number of times. And so all of a sudden, if you just get the ball flipped to you, your first instinct is probably going to be, wait, am I the asshole? Am I the one who didn't understand the game situation correctly? Are we actually down and we actually need to, what's the score? You know, like in the heat of the moment, you're not going to be able to like stop and, oh, where's the scoreboard? You know, check it, make, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. You know, so like they said that it looked like Myers just, when Stevenson tossed him the ball, it basically just short circuited his brain. And he was like, fuck, okay, we need to go into lateral mode here. And then one of the other podcasts I listened to, the best name, so they were like, okay, what's the name for the play? Where you have like the Immaculate Reception, shout out Franco Harris, which interestingly, the Raiders and Steelers are playing each other on Saturday on the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. The Franco Harris just died. Anyways, so someone said that they came up with the best name for it. It's Myers Remorse.
Oh shit.
The Myers Remorse play. I feel bad for the dude. He totally took it on the chin and just said it was all my fault. I'm the one who screwed up. Yeah.
I thought you were going to go a different direction and call it the annexation of Puerto Rico. I forget where I heard that from, but
Little
that
Giant.
was just. Oh, is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things that's lodged in there. Don't know the source. Don't know the last time I used it, but I know when to pull it out. Take that however you want. But I totally agree. I think that once Ramondre, because here's the thing, it's so different watching the game on TV than it is watching it in person, where you just have one vantage point. You don't have the announcers. There's no commercial breaks. And when you're a player, you're 100% dependent on the communication that's happening on the sidelines and the huddle, from the sidelines to the huddle. And so what I think it is, and I can totally see the blame going to Ramondre, but it really falls on Mac Jones and Bill Belichick. And it shows to me how much I think the Patriots relied on-field decision-making that Tom Brady, still displays to this day, not as well as he did. But Tom Brady would never have done that. He would say, okay, if we're even going to run a play, you're running to the end zone. But we're not even going to do that. We're just going to down it because we have the best, at that time, best kicker in the league, playing indoors. This is ridiculous. We're not snapping the ball and handing it to anything other than the ground. And I think that it just showed immaturity, lack of experience, and maybe a lapse in coaching that I think has been plaguing a lot of NFL teams this year. But it was on perfect display. And not being a fan of either team, watching Chandler Jones, who was a former Patriot, do what he did to Mac Jones was probably the most fulfilling thing I've seen in the NFL all year, without a doubt. Because you want to be that guy. Everybody wanted to be Chandler Jones on that play more than a handful of times in your life. And the motherfucker got a chance to do it.
Just absolutely mushing a grown man's face into the turf. He put him 6 feet deep. He absolutely ended the poor kid's life.
Yeah, and allegedly Myers is in concussion protocol because on that same play, what didn't get shown by the cameras, he got concussed. So not only did he throw it
up,
he got fucking cleated. So perfect play of the year, best play of the year so far. And I know it's recency bias, and there's probably a lot of other good ones. George Pickens' one-hand catch against the Browns or whatever, but that one was just the most enjoyable. And even Patriots fans got to go, yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
You got to feel just like a little bit bad for Mac Jones because like a quarterback is never put in the situation that you have to tackle somebody, and then you have to tackle somebody who has a head of steam behind him, and then he stiff arms you into the ground, just like plants you. Like you got to feel a little bit bad for Mac Jones on that.
He's been having a terrible season too, and I don't mean like performance wise. Like his performance wise has been bad, but he looks like the most miserable person in the NFL on a week-to-week basis. He's so unhappy about everything, and I think he's got a right to be. Like the way that you say what you want about Bill Belichick, the way that they approached this season is just beggars belief. I don't know who in the world thought that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge together with a young quarterback, a young first-round quarterback, was somehow going to be a recipe for success. They've just it's just a mind-numbingly baffling situation, and I have no idea where they're going to go from here. They're not officially eliminated, but they might as well be.
Yeah,
and
if they make it into the playoffs, they will have zero momentum.
Right. They're not going to like that, and that's which is kind of a shame because that defense is amazing, and I think that Mac Jones has. If you take Mac Jones and put him on the Jets, I think that he would be quite good. I think he would be better than Mike White or Zach Wilson. But they're expecting the kid to carry an offense of where like Jacoby Myers and Ramondre Stevenson are your best players, and they're great players. Ramondre Stevenson is a starting caliber NFL running back, but Jacoby Myers isn't a number one. He's a number two, number three, maybe number two, and there's just the offensive line isn't great. There's no no tight end threat to speak of. There's Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. These are it's an offense full of scrubs. And he's a second-year quarterback with two defensive coordinators as sharing the job of offensive coordinator for him under a defensive coach. It's just a recipe for disaster. And it's pretty amazing they've won 7 games this year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, and obviously, yeah, I'm going to take something away from the Patriots. Fuck them. I'm still not over I still don't take them not seriously. You know, they've conditioned me for the last 20 years, so fuck them still. But here's what I think that they're going to get Bill O'Brien back on the staff as OC as soon as Alabama fires him on January 2nd after the Sugar Bowl. And there's a link there. Bill O'Brien, Coach Mac Jones, there's some familiarity. Bill O'Brien also worked under Belichick. Makes perfect sense. And he's out at Alabama. He's a dead man walking in Tuscaloosa. It makes the most sense. He's going to be available. Belichick has made it his entire career to show how much he likes rehiring former guys. He really doesn't seem to show, much of a desire to go find the next guy and grow him. It's a lot of just recycle the same parts and pieces.
Yeah, how many times has Romeo Crennel and Josh McDaniels, he just keeps bringing the same guys back. They go, they do something else, they come back.
They don't do much when they're not there's not a big long list of guys who've been successful with the Patriots and then been successful elsewhere too. Yeah,
which is odd because the trend is and has been coaching trees. Watch, find any successful coach and you can trace him back to Green Bay in the early 90s.
It was like last week we talked about Mike Leach and the Leach coaching trees.
Saban's got. Well, I mean, that has been the model that you're just accustomed to watch guys that leave a program just absolutely fall on their face or at best go 500 and then limp back to then find success again it's just very, very odd. Somebody sold their soul in New England at some point. It's just there's a black shadow that casts wide, and it has a Patriot logo on it. I don't like it.
So there were some other interesting games last weekend, some tight finishes. Do we want to talk about any of those, or we just want to move on to new football and what's going to be happening this weekend?
No, I'm not going to lie. This was probably the most entertaining week of football of the year. I don't know of any other week where that many games, especially in the early. Well, you got to start off with Saturday. I mean, Jesus, dude, the first game, Matt Ryan. I'm wearing my extra small 10-year-old Falcon shirt because that Matt Ryan that I saw, it took me back. You know, brought me some tears. Not great ones, but it took me back to a time when Matt Ryan could have a giant lead on somebody and then set a record on losing it. And now he owns some of the most, or at least prestigious records in NFL history. And he is going to forever carry those. And I feel for the dude. But the first game, I'm pretty sure it was the first game on Saturday, was the Minnesota-Indy game. 33 at halftime. And then I ended up losing, 39-36, something like that?
39-36, yep.
Incredible. And I turned the game on at halftime. So I missed the entire first half. I only saw Indy getting boat raced. And the whole time I was like, I've got to see the first half. How did this team, this train wreck of an organization, even get 33 points? It couldn't have been the offense. Minnesota must have just been fumbling it on the 2-yard line. And that's kind of the case. They were just turning it over. Very entertaining game. Again, if you're not a fan of any of these teams, and even if you didn't have a fantasy interest, you're just watching these games because Saturday was just a perfect day of football with a little dud in the middle. It was a great weekend, and probably the best one we'll have until AFC, NFC, playoffs.
That it was funny because everyone was talking about like, oh, I never would have seen this kind of a like the Colts scoring this many points. But if you look at the drives here, they drove for a field goal on the first drive, and that was after a 49-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff. So short field, they get a kickoff return to midfield and only get a field goal out of it. Then Minnesota comes out, one first down, and then they go to punt and they get it blocked, return for a touchdown. Then Minnesota gets the ball again. Dalvin Cook fumbles on the second play. And the Colts get the ball at the 34. And so then they score a touchdown from there. So they get the ball just outside the red zone, score a touchdown. Suddenly it's 17-0. Still in the first quarter. Then Minnesota turns the ball over on downs. So another short field, and they kick a field goal. Then Minnesota turns the ball over on downs again. Another short field, they kick a field goal. Then they trade punts, and then there's an interception return for a touchdown. And that's what took it to 30-0. So, and then there's another field goal at the end of the game, or at the end of the first half. So it's 33-0 at the end of the first half. And it was a bunch of Indianapolis getting a short field and only converting field goals, and 2 defensive touchdowns. And then they had 1 offensive touchdown as well. So this wasn't the Colts offense showing up. The Colts offense did diddly squat. I mean, getting 1, 2, 3, 4 field goals in a half, that's okay. That's fine. But that's because their defense kept giving them short fields. They were turning it over on downs. They got a fumble. That's why they were getting all those points. It was driven by their defense, which is what I'd anticipated. This was, oh man, Jonathan Taylor went out, sprained his ankle on the second play of the game, and went out. And I was instantly in DFS. I was drawing dead just for the rest of the day. I was hosed because I had like 75% Jonathan Taylor on all the different DFS lineups that I put out there, and I was anticipating a Colts win here because I thought that the Colts defense was going to stymie the Vikings. And it was looking really good there for a little while. But then, man, that second half was just incredible. Just absolutely incredible. And poor Matt Ryan. he looked completely out of his depth for the entire second half. This Colts team just doesn't have the talent, and it seems like they don't have like the will or the motivation to really capitalize on whatever talent differentials they do have.
Matt Ryan should retire after this year. It's starting to get a little bad.
I think the only thing that you might do if you're him, the only thing, or if you're like another team, if you're a team that's like not the 49ers, but a team that's like that, where you got a stacked team, you just need a quarterback. I think that someone, and you've got like a quarterback friendly system, like I guess like the 49ers, that's the only place that I could see him going. And I don't think that he's completely cooked. I just think that he can't carry an offense. You could put him into an offense that's already got a ton of talent, and he'll produce within that offense. But yeah, you would need to have a really good, basically a really good team around him, and he just comes in and he just is the stopgap. I think that he really should be, if he wants to keep playing, he should kind of go the Nick Foles route, and which I guess actually Nick Foles is going to be playing for him this week. So, just be a backup for a few years and see if you can land somewhere where a quarterback goes out mid-season and you can come in with a team that's already humming and just, keep things going.
I'm not going to go broken record it up and talk about Matt Ryan bouncing a swing pass anymore. I already had my calling why I will not pick the Colts. As long as he's under center, just no.
Well, he's not going to be this week, so who are they playing?
But all the rest of the games last weekend were really good too. Like that wasn't the only like barn burner kind of shocker. Like the Colts or Dolphins Bills ended up being a good game. Like the Dolphins had control of that, and then the Bills mounted a big comeback in the fourth quarter. And what did the Bills score in the fourth quarter? I know they outscored them pretty significantly, 11-3. That put together that big drive right at the end of the game to seal the win. Like that was a really good game. And then Sunday had a bunch of good games too. Like not only the Patriots Raiders game, but Jacksonville Dallas. Gosh, that
ending was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. I mean, pick six in overtime when you just had a shootout to get to overtime. Jacksonville, doesn't have the best environment. I've been in that stadium. It's cool, it's fun, but it's not like you're not intimidated there. It was a 50-50 split. It almost looked like a Georgia-Florida game with the amount of Dallas Cowboys fans there, and that place was losing its shit the whole game. If I was a fan of either team, I would have died to have been there. That looked like it was a fun day.
I fell in with the Duval crowd for a while in my in college, and shortly thereafter. Just had a bunch of friends on Twitter and I went to the NFL draft, the Jadeveon Clowney year, 2013, I think. Went to the NFL draft and just hung out with a bunch of Jaguars fans the whole time. And I remember standing in line to get into the draft. And I remember the start of it, standing is like getting into the line. I don't remember getting inside and sitting down because we were just sitting there. We just had a bottle of vodka, and there was like three of us that were just trading, just for 45 minutes until we downed the whole thing. And later I looked at my camera and I had a selfie with Steve Mariucci, a selfie with Michael Irvin. I had a photo bomb. Like I took a selfie of myself with Goodell in the background. Apparently all of them came by. And then Adam Rank and Maurice Jones-Drew came, and I had pictures with them. It was a absolutely wild time, but like the Duval crowd, they have the right amount of just like cynicism and depression from having been Jaguars fans for so long that they just don't give a fuck. And you'll hear them coming because you'll hear all the people going Duval. They're a fun crowd. So it's cool to see them finally getting to experience what it's like to have a really exciting young quarterback, to have an awesome Doug Peterson's such a boss. It's cool to see what's happening down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Where I went to school, it was about 30 to 40 minutes inland from Savannah. And so we would get more Jacksonville games than we would Falcons games or Panthers games. We were kind of in a weird triangle of we were going to get one of those three. And I mean, this is back 2000, 2005, during the Michael Vick era. So we ended up getting more Falcons games than we probably should have. But I remember watching plenty of Jacksonville games, and it was like, man, they are just missing that element of just excitement. Because Jacksonville's a fun town. I mean, it's a good spot to be, good weather year round. You know, if they could just get something going, that place could be. They could become a tough place to go play.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally agree with you. You know, the fans are just like, whatever, man. There are Jaguars. You know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, they're like, it's very much the whole thing where like we're allowed to shit on our team, but you're not.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they're relentlessly negative about their own team, but if you say anything bad about it, especially on Twitter, you will get inundated by a bunch of rabid honey badgers.
That's how I was about the Falcons until the Super Bowl. That's when the floodgates just opened up. I was like, I can't defend this. And I wouldn't expect anybody to have pity or mercy from this point forward until we win the Super Bowl. And so until that happens, I'm just in the, shit on my team. Nobody's going to shit on my team harder than me. You can bring it.
Well, speaking of the Jaguars, they are the opener this week. At Thursday night, we got Jaguars and Jets.
That's going to be such a good game.
Yeah, it's with as well as those two teams have been playing over the last few weeks. Is Zach Wilson back at quarterback this week?
Yes.
Yeah. Zach Wilson, yes, but Mike White, no.
That's what I thought.
It looks like right now the weather is supposed to. So weather's a big deal this week. There's going to be some of these games that are like unplayable. But on, what am I looking at here? I think it's supposed to just be cold and cold. I don't think there might be some snow. That's not the right page. I think it's supposed to be 34 degrees. So 34 degrees in East Rutherford. So it'll probably, if there's some wind, then it's gonna be cold as shit. So, I don't know. I've been trying to decide who I want to pick for this game. Both of these two have been kind of like my favorites throughout the season, my favorite teams to follow, and now I feel like a parent who has to decide who their favorite kid is, and I can't help but think I really want to pick the Jags. It's really hard to go against a quarterback head coach pairing that are feeling it like these guys are right now. But man, that Jets defense is legit. And if it's going to be cold as balls for a Southern boy, where's Trevor Lawrence from originally?
Right here in the Metro Atlanta area.
Okay, so he's experienced cold weather, but he didn't grow up in like North Dakota or something.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be 9 degrees for a low here, I think, on Saturday, and like 10 degrees for a low on Friday. But that's not normal. Mm-hmm. And we're all kind of freaking out just a smidge. And he played at Clemson. So, I mean, I could go on and on about, Tyler Bass, the game-winning kicker in Buffalo, played at Georgia Southern. James Cook, the running back, played at Georgia. Southern boys can go do some things in the cold, but they don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody wants to.
Yeah, Friday it's going to be 4 degrees and with a wind chill of negative 15 here. So I'm not looking forward to it, and it doesn't get much like Southern Indiana.
Damn,
it's not getting much warmer through the rest of the weekend. Mm-mm. So like Indy is going to be. It's a good thing they play in a dome in Indy because it's going to be basically like you do not want to be outdoors this weekend in the state of Indiana.
It's supposed to be like a low of 15 or 20 here in the next few nights, and everyone here is all. Ah.
So I will say, I think I've said this before. As a receiver, I liked cold weather games because it really forces you to catch the ball the right way. Like if you don't have soft hands and you're not like really bringing the ball in right, it hurts like fuck. So
Yeah, it does.
As a receiver, like I had my best receiving games in freezing rain and like just stupid cold because I was more focused on catching the ball the right way and also catching the ball in my route where I had an opportunity to get away from a defender. Like I'm not trying to get hit when it's that cold. So
you have motivation.
Like, yeah. So there is something to be said for like, I think this has played out statistically over the past few seasons. Like you always think about like cold weather and snow games as these like slogs where it's going to be a whole lot of running the ball and a whole lot of like defensive type games. But I think it has proven itself out over the last several years that those situations teams are becoming more comfortable with airing the ball out. And especially if it's just cold, it's just snow, like it's not severe winds, they'll air the ball out and they'll move it through the air and have success in doing so. So it could be a entertaining game. And if that's the case, it could favor Jacksonville because they're going to have heaters on the sideline. Like they're the amount that the cold on the field affects them is going to be I'm not going to say negligible because there's no getting around it. But then at the end of the day, once you've got all your pads and everything on, like there's a certain level of insulation that you hit on the field that you don't even realize that it's that cold.
It's actually kind of nice sometimes when it's really cold because it helps you, especially if you're getting hit. If you're gonna survive it, it's without. I don't mean survive it as in like not die. I just mean if you're gonna get through it without just psychologically giving out, you kind of have to go into a zone. Like you have to block out all the sensation. It's kind of like getting into an ice bath where you have to get really, really focused and you just go mind over matter and just ignore the feelings on your extremities and you just focus on your goal. You can kind of do that out on the field and it almost can make you better then because your focus isn't divided and you're not distracted thinking about other stuff. You're completely honed in on exactly what's happening, exactly what you're doing. And you've got that motivation, like, let's get this shit done and let's get the fuck out of here because I'm cold. So that can actually that can motivate people. Looking at
it's like deer hunting. I say it's like deer hunting when it's cold. Like once you get out there and you kind of get settled in and you get comfortable and you kind of let that cold just seep into your bones, then you're good and you don't even realize that it is anymore. And like that's how playing football in the cold is. Like it's a mentality for sure, but like every football player has that mentality that you, like you said, you have to get in that zone. And it's just, this is the only thing that matters in life right now is I've got to hit the person in front of me or, whatever my job is and get the fuck out of here as fast as possible.
I preferred playing in the cold. I fucking hated the heat because, news alert, it gets hot as shit in Georgia. And there's nothing worse than putting on all this other shit and now go run like the heat was another opponent on the field with you. When it was cold, it was like, well, now I want to play because it's a means of maintaining warmth. And you get hit, somebody's helmet hits your knuckles. Oh, I mean, you're awake and you're energized, you're motivated. When it's hot, you want to get the fuck off the field, go take 5, like you're winded just by not even hitting anybody. It sucks. The heat, especially with the humidity down here, will just suck energy out of you. When it's cold, I think it invigorates you.
Jim liked it when it was cold because you get together in the pile and rub up against other dudes and stay warm.
Yep. Yeah.
And
I showed a lot of growth. I showed a lot of growth in those piles.
I was going to say everything down there just gets all tucked up and you don't have to worry about a cup anymore.
Yeah. Now these become innies real quick.
So Turns out the weather is actually going to be fairly warm. It's going to be upper 40s, maybe around 50. But there's supposed to be 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds, gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour with driving rain.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Poor bastards.
Yeah. It says weather impact by quarter. Supposed to have an elevated impact the first, second, and third quarter, and then an extreme impact by the end of the game. So it's projecting. I'm looking at fantasy football weather guys. They're projecting almost 2/3 of an inch of rain throughout the game.
All right. So who has the better tight ends and running backs?
It's still the Jaguars, I think.
I was gonna say, I still think I'd go Jaguars on that. So Evan Ingram is good, and that Jaguars seem to have a decent hodgepodge of backs. At least I would say better than what the Jets have at this point in the season. Is Donovan Knight healthy?
I think it's TBD.
Yeah, but I think he's expected to play. But with it being this close to the game, they're not really saying much. They don't give a shit about fantasy owners.
No.
But I would agree. I would totally take Ingram over Conklin. ETN and Bam Knight. I don't know. There's weeks where I would take one over the other, but from what I've seen so far from both, I think that's a wash. I would take, who is it, Hasty behind him in Jacksonville, and then Michael Carter, maybe. Yeah, I would take Hasty. So,
ooh, this is the James Robinson revenge game.
If they even let him on the field, he has been a missing person. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him before the game, just to
that'd be
stick it to him. Yeah. You see him in the stands because he bought a ticket and he's wearing a bag over his head. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna go Jags because the Jets are 7-7, Jags are 6-8. You got everybody right there is in contention for a playoff spot. You got the Raiders right underneath them at 6-8, Cleveland right under at 6-8. You got the Patriots, who I hope loses out, at 7-7. So they're all clustered right there, and I'm rooting for chaos. So in this instance, the team, I want them both to be leaving 7-8, just to clog up that right on the hunt bubble to make the rest of the NFL season that much more interesting. So give me the Jags.
Yeah, I'm taking Jags in this one too.
Yeah, you guys talked me into it. I am too.
All right, next on the slate, we got the up-and-coming Detroit Lions versus the, well, they're still playing football, Carolina Panthers.
In Carolina.
Yeah,
and this one's on Saturday. This is on, and I think 11 of the games are on Saturday. The bulk of this is Christmas Eve play with, I think, 3 games on Christmas Day. So like an inverse of this past week. But it's going to be played in Charlotte on Saturday. We're expecting Arctic or whatever the fuck temperatures. This is where you're going to have to prove me that team from the north can beat that team from the south, and to see if cold weather teams can do anything, even though the Lions play in a dome. I think the Panthers are so bad that it wouldn't matter what the weather forecast is, who the Panthers are putting out there. Deontay Foreman has also been a missing person. Chuba Hubbard's not good enough to take on the Lions. The Lions have proven that they can shut down the run from anybody. They got no passing game. I think this one could get ugly. Even though the Panthers just did what they did to the Seahawks on the road, I think that is their peak of the year, and I don't think they return to that level. Give me the brand new Lions.
Yeah, when you got a team like Carolina that I thought last week should have been a game that would have favored what they're able to do, where they can generally run the ball and play slightly above average defense, and like by slightly, I mean just like very, very slightly, and go against a team like the Steelers and have a chance, and then they just completely didn't show up for that game. And going against a highly motivated team like the Lions, who have been on a roll, this just feels like it's going to be lopsided. I feel like the Panthers just don't have anything. Like, they made their little run after the whole coach firing and Baker getting ousted and trading McCaffrey. Like, everything happened, and the team kind of had that galvanizing 2 or 3 weeks, and it was a feel-good story. And as always, those peter out pretty quick, and so we're seeing the Panthers for what we expected the Panthers to end up being after all of that, not the feel-good that they had there for a few weeks.
So it looks like it's going to be cold as shit, but it's going to be sunny and clear. Might be a little windy for this game. It says that the supposed to be 9 mile an hour wind with gusts up to 28. So could affect the passing game a little bit. But I think that the Panthers defense is decent, and they seem to play with a little bit of pride, but they weren't really very competitive against the Steelers, and the Steelers are one of the most unimpressive teams in the league. I think that this Lions team, I think that right now, if say the season started right now and you ignored everything that happened to this point, I think the Lions should easily be considered a top 5, maybe top 3 team in the NFC. I think they're legitimately very good. So, yeah, they're the dome team going on the road, playing in the cold, but it's not like the guys are going to be unfamiliar with the cold. And like we've already talked about, playing in the cold by itself doesn't really affect production that much. Wind is the big thing. But even if it's too windy to pass in this game, which I don't think it'll be that way the whole game. I mean, who's the best short target receiver on the field? It's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you're going to have you got Jamal Williams, you've got DeAndre Swift, you've got Justin Jackson. Even like, I think that the running talent is much more on the Lions side. So even if it turns into a running game, Lions' run defense has been the best in the league by far for the last 6 games. So I don't think that Chuba Hubbard or Dante Foreman are going to go anywhere. And I think that the Sam Darnold versus Jared Goff comparison is probably closer than it might look. But in this particular case, I think all the talent is on the Lions side. They've got everything to play for, and the matchup favors them as well. The only downside for them is that they're going to be on the road, and it might be a little windy. But even then, even cold, it says 33 degrees with a real feel of 27. So it's going to be one of the warmer games of the week. Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions.
27 with minimal wind is kind of pleasant.
It'll be a little breezy, but as long as 30 mile an hour gusts when it's 27, that's a little nipply, but yeah, I think they should be fine.
Well, and I know that this is probably a bad comparison because clearly they've game planned without these players. But if you were to tell me at the beginning of the year for this game that Carolina's playing against the Lions without Baker Mayfield, their season starter, without Christian McCaffrey, and without their freaking head coach, I would think that there's mass injuries or illness in that locker room, and there's no way that you could expect that team to perform. And so I still don't see it any differently. I think you're still missing the best aspects of what you were coming in, and I don't think you just bounce back and recover. I think that eventually you just get exposed for the talent deficiencies that exist. And one team's a rocket ship, and the other one is an anchor. And I think that Goff is going to go off, wind or no wind. I think that his receiving core talent, I don't even know who's in the Panthers secondary, but I think they're about to get worked bad.
Let's see. Who we got next? Looking at...
There's Giants and Vikings.
Yeah, Giants and Vikings. Giants coming off of that controversial win over the...
The game's rigged, man.
Over the Skins. That was
It's all a shoot.
The pass interference was pretty egregious, or the no call pass interference was pretty egregious. Like playing on both sides of the ball, that was 100% pass interference. Like there's no way getting around that. But
and it's not like it was a Hail Mary either, where end of the game Hail Marys they won't call it. This was a straight up pass play in the end zone. There's no way that shouldn't be called.
Right.
Well,
the dude was on him like a cape.
Yeah.
Well, in the play before where Terry McLaurin, they're getting set on the line and they always look to the sideline and is like, am I good?
That was the egregious one.
And the ref was just like, yeah, you're good. The second the play went, he's like, nope, you were actually not good. It's like, okay, son of a bitch. Can we please get that kind of ref all the way out of the fucking game?
Yes.
I want full-time employed members of the NFL that are doing this shit. And I want all of this nonsense of this gives every, brainlet out there. It's like the game's rigged, man. They're fucking calling it. It's the refs. It's predetermined. It's all bullshit. That if they give a fuck about the perception of their industry, it's incumbent on them that they rid the league of refs like this. Got to get them out.
Yeah, that literally. I mean, you can't say that it changed the outcome of the game, but it took a touchdown off the board. They scored that touchdown. All they need is a 2-point conversion. And I think how much time was left in the game? Would they have, if they've not gotten the 2-point conversion, would they have had time to go onside kick and try to kick a field goal?
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember. It seemed like there was like a minute plus left.
I think it was more consequential given everything that was going on in the game at that time, that it felt like it was a real hindrance to the outcome of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was you're talking about a 1-score game. Like there's legitimately a chance that this is completely altering the outcome. And
I'm pretty sure that it also meant that the game hit the under instead of the over. Ooh. And there was a lot of people who had money on Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. And that's why it took a Brian Robinson touchdown off the board. So there's a lot of people who had Brian Robinson in DFS, who had Brian Robinson anytime touchdown bets, and who had the over. And all three of those all lost because of that call.
Yeah. It's hard, I hear the screeching from the conspiracy corner, and I love those people. I live in that corner. Those are my people. But please don't fuck up my sports.
And then you also had, like, on Twitter, you had the sports ball fags that were like, well, why is he asking the ref where he's supposed to line up? Is it the ref's job to tell him where to line up? It's like, all right, tell me you've never been a wide receiver in your life without telling me you've never been a wide receiver in your life. Like,
tell me you've never actually paid attention to a game, because
that's literally what you do is you walk up to the line and you tell the line judge either I'm on the line or I'm off. And if you're on the line, they tell you scoot up, or if you're off the line, they tell you you're good or back up. Like that's literally how this works.
No, I've never been to a game or inside a stadium. I've always been outside picketing because people need to understand that that's how you get your rights.
Yeah. But I have strong opinions about it anyways.
Of course, and you will read all about them in this 16-part Twitter thread labeled Sports Ball. My opus. I don't know,
What's
dude.
interesting about this game is it's one of the few games that's in a dome this week. So it's going to be completely unaffected by weather unless something egregious happens. And to me, it's got all the makings. It's actually not the highest total on the week. Its total's 47.5 right now. Seahawks Chiefs is the highest at 49. And then you've got Eagles Cowboys also in a dome is at 47. I guess Packers and Dolphins is 49.5. But and I think that this has a very good shot at going over even that, because the Vikings defense can't stop anybody. The Giants defense is very boom bust because Wink Martindale loves to blitz his ass off. So to me, this has the makings of the Vikings putting up a shit ton of points and the Giants having to go all out to try to keep up. I think the Vikings are going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And my picks are always for much dumber reasons. And it's just I've fallen out of love with the Giants. Not that I was ever in love with them, but I've fallen out of like awe of them. You know, they were doing some pretty surprising shit earlier in the year when they were winning games that they had no business winning. I'm tired of them. I'm tired of their story. I want them to just go away now. They're gross. What the Vikings did in the second half against the Colts, I thought was just magical. And I'm not going to lie. My adopted team this year is the Lions. You know, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for that part of the world. My family used to live there for 11 years or so. And so I felt a kindred spirit in my Lions fan brethren, being a Falcons fan, that I want the Lions to get into the postseason. I was happy as shit 4 years ago when the Bills made it into the postseason for the first time in however long that they didn't get that opportunity. And now they've been a standard bearer. You can expect them in the postseason. I want that for the Lions. And I want that. And and the only way that happens is the Giants have to lose. The Vikings can win out. They're already so far ahead. Doesn't matter. But you got to start having the 8-win teams and the 9-win teams ahead of the Lions start dropping back. And that doesn't happen if the Giants win and Minnesota. Give me the Vikings.
What's interesting is right now, if the season ended right now, the Giants would be the 6th seed. And their schedule, so they play here we go here. At the Vikings versus the Colts and at the Eagles. Once they get to the Eagles, we don't know what the Eagles' situation is going to be at that point. Will they have clinched already? Will they be resting starters, especially with Jalen Hurts already dinged up?
Mm-hmm.
So that's if the Giants win, I think either of their next 2 games, I think the odds are very good that they make the playoffs. I think I think it would be pretty hard for them to fall out of the play. I think they'd have to like lose all 3 games and have either the Lions or the Seahawks win 2 of 3, which isn't completely out of the question, but the Giants are pretty well. They are, their record right now? They're 8-5-1.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 wins gets them to 10 wins, and the Seahawks and the Lions can only get to 10 wins, possibly if they win out, and the Giants would be ahead of them because of that tie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that the Giants it's annoying because I don't see them going anywhere in the playoffs, but I think they're basically assured a playoff spot at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of odd because remember when the Giants won their Super Bowls when Eli was their quarterback, they felt the same as this team does right
teams. That's
now.
true.
Right now. Just kind of somehow
showing
up.
I'm pretty sure they were the 6th seed both times they won.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were. And it was just kind of like do they belong? They weren't impressive. They got boat raced by the Patriots at home, to close out the season or whenever it was, the year that they came back they beat the Patriots both times they were in the Super Bowl, but it was just unimpressive meandering into the playoffs. And if my team's not involved, I just want to be entertained. And the best way to drum up entertainment stock is drama. And I'm fucking here for it. And the Giants give me none of that. The Vikings give me all of that. The Lions give me all of that. I'm here for the chaos. I'm here for the show. And the Giants are just fucking warm milk.
So I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. The Vikings and the Giants are both teams that I've been saying all year I didn't think they were as good as their record. But at the end of the day, the Vikings, even though I don't think they're as good as their record indicates, they keep beating the teams that they should beat. So, and the Giants are a team that they should beat. So I feel like even in spite of, coming out and going down 33-0 to start a game like they did last week, they still seem to find a way to win the games against worse teams. And I think the Giants are legitimately the worst team in this. So I'm going to take the Vikings.
Hell yeah. What's the next one? Because I might be looking at a list that's in a different order than you guys.
The next one I've got here is the Saints and Browns. That one's kind of boring. This is supposed to be the worst weather game of the week. This one's supposed to be like 30 to 40 mile an hour sustained winds and it's supposed to be like 15 or 20 degrees or something like that. So this is probably going to be like a combined 15 pass attempts.
Yeah, it's going to be gross. One thing I can guarantee you, Alvin Kamara is going to be pointless in it. He should just go ahead and sit out. Just go ahead and like up your trial case for beating the shit out of the dude in Vegas. Like, go ahead and start that, because it's clear this team forgot who you are, forgot what you've done for them. They don't give a shit. So it's time for you to return the favor. And plus, I want to see Nick Chubb shine. I don't like either of these teams, but there's one I hate vastly more. And for pure spite and personal reasons, I want the Browns to win. Therefore, the Browns will win. They're at home. Fuck the Saints forever.
I think for anybody who's still got fantasy hopes, I think an interesting call in this game. This seems like a Taysom Hill game to me.
Oh yeah, they're really putting the Taysom on everything. They're using Taysom Hill like Texas Pete. They're putting that shit on everything, and it's annoying. Jawan Johnson's out there catching touchdowns like he's a wide receiver. You're a rookie tight end. What the fuck is this team? Sorry. I'll back off the bike.
Imagine having to tackle Taysom Hill when it's like 10 degrees and 40 mile an hour winds outside. That sounds like it's just fucking miserable. And now at the same time, trying to do the same thing with Nick Chubb sounds miserable too. I think I conceivably could see either one of these teams win in these conditions. It's just an absolute crapshoot. Right now, it's the lowest total in the NFL all season. The total's actually come up. It was 31 for a while. It's up to 32. I think the previous low this season was like 36 or 37. But Browns are favored by 3 at home. So essentially they're saying they're even on a neutral field, which seems right to me. I'm just going to take the Browns just because they're the home team. But this could go either way to me.
I think it's going to be a big day for Chubb. It's a big running day, I think. Go ahead, Justin.
I don't have a whole lot of expectations out of this game. I think Cleveland has a better defense than the Saints do, so I'm going to go with Cleveland.
Yeah. Anytime you take a domed team, and I know we said weather is not as impactful, or the cold north-south thing's not that big of a deal, and I think Miami proved that last week, and we had a good discussion a minute ago. But I do think there's some truth when you take a southern domed team, send them up north, and play outside in late December. That I do think has an effect. They can't practice in it. They can't mimic it. They can't do any of that shit. And I just I think and I hope. As you can tell, there's a theme here. I got the Panthers losing. I got the Saints losing. This is the NFC South, baby. This is what we do in late December. We lose. I want the whole division with double-digit losses. Buccaneers won't give me that, but maybe the rest of the teams will.
Does that mean we should talk about Ravens Falcons?
Yikes.
Real quick before we do this, and we got to, I guess, if we want to pick all the games here, I've got to get out probably in the next half hour or so, but let me distract us just a little bit more. I'm hearing rumors that one Lamar Jackson may wind up in the NFC South next season. And the two teams that I've heard are the Panthers and the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of chatter. There's been a lot of chatter in the Falcons corners of the interwebs. And this has been going on for a month or two now, that they've already done mock-ups of Lamar in a Falcons uniform in the stadium, stiff arming Saints players and right in the dick. And there's the Falcons fan base is more than open to the idea that we have Lamar quarterbacking our team. I think that there's such a cavernous hole that was left by Michael Vick that Matt Ryan did his best, and a Super Bowl win would have done wonders for this franchise. We didn't get it. I think there's still a huge contingent of the fan base that wants to finish what Michael Vick started. Lamar Jackson would be the closest and best opportunity to do that. And I think even if we have a shitty rest of our offense and our defense is still under a rebuild for the next 2 to 3 years, he would be welcome with wide open arms. And our fan base wants Lamar. Desmond Ridder isn't the guy. He's not going to be the guy for a couple years. If he can wait it out, we would love to work him into the fold. But if we want something to be entertaining, and if we want to be entertained, if we want something to look forward to, I, as a Falcons fan, and also kind of reading the tea leaves, this city would lose its shit in all the best ways if we get him.
What if the Panthers got him?
Then I would hate him forever. He would be no different than Cam Newton, and I can't wait for him to flip his truck on a bridge in Charlotte for absolutely no apparent reason, and his career to go right off the fucking cliff after that.
Tell us how you really feel.
Just how it goes, baby.
All right.
Well, Falcons, Ravens.
Ravens win. Falcons are in complete disarray at this point, and they should lose out, because if they fuck up and win, they're just fucking their future potential. I want to see what this new front office can do with draft picks. Give me 2 to 3 years of seeing how they try to construct teams, and right now the jury's still out on that, but don't fuck it up by winning. You're competing against the rest of the NFC South who are trying to beat you to a better pick. Don't let them do it.
I think this could be the fewest pass attempts of the season. J.K. Dobbins looks like a legit back now that he's back from injury and got a couple weeks under his belt. He's looked really good. That's really about all that the Ravens have going for them offensively. But I think in this game, that very well could be enough. I'll take the Ravens.
Yep. I'll take the Ravens as well. It says they're favored by 7.
Yeah.
I think
I think that's any team that faces the Falcons going forward.
I think I might take the Falcons to cover this, just because 7 is kind of getting up there, especially for a team that's been pretty unimpressive lately in the Ravens. The Ravens are actually really starting to fight for their playoff lives here, because if I can get the playoff standings, they are, see, the AFC Ravens are 9-5.
Nope.
I think there's basically no way they win their division. They're already a game back of the Bengals. They still have to play the Bengals. And yeah, I think that at 9-5, they really probably just have to win one game to guarantee themselves a wild card spot. And even if they don't, they still may wind up getting a wild card spot. So it'd be pretty hard for them not to wind up. But if they lose out, then there's a good chance of a couple different people being able to pass them up. So they definitely need to win these games. At the same time, this does not look like a team, especially if Lamar Jackson isn't starting. This isn't a team that can run the score up on anybody. And the Falcons, right now, you got like one of the best running games in the league going against one of the best run defenses in the league. So that'll be kind of interesting to see whether it's the unstoppable force or the immovable object that gives out. I think this is going to wind up being a pretty close game. And if it wasn't a rookie quarterback who kind of looked pretty shaky last week, then I might be kind of toying with the idea of the Falcons upset. But I'm just going to call the Falcons to cover the 7 points.
Yeah, I could see if Baltimore were to cover that spread, it would be like a 24-17 or like a 21-14 game, because I don't think it's going to be high scoring. And just to close it out, with Desmond Ridder having his first 2 NFL starts be on the road, I don't know why anybody would pick the Falcons.
Yeah, I absolutely think that the Falcons will cover in this one. I don't see this being a runaway game on in any way. The Ravens just don't have the ability to put up that many points without Lamar Jackson in the offense, and they didn't really have the ability to put up that many points with him in the offense. So like, it's going to be a low scoring game. It's not going to be. I could easily see it being more like a 4-point game. Definitely not a 7-point game.
It strikes me as like a 20-16 kind of game.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. And one last thing of note for the Ravens, and I don't know how much this is going to make a difference, but Devin Duvernay has been put on the IR.
Oh, that's right.
That's their speedy kick returner and sometimes 2-catch wide receiver. But he has shown that he can break it away for like a 70-yard touchdown, which would have been important. But he gone.
James Proche season.
I mean,
It's funny. If it winds up a 20-16 game, the total right now is at 35.5. So 20-16 would make some people real unhappy.
It's those damn refs. And they're playing in Baltimore, which isn't far from Washington. So those refs probably just came right over.
I was kind of thinking 13-17, but we'll see. I think it's going to be a slog.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we should pick Seattle, Kansas City, since we kind of skipped over that one. Seattle is going to be without Lockett.
Yeah.
He had finger surgery, which apparently went perfectly, and he might only miss up to one game, and that game being this one, which is surprising. The fact that they can do surgery on your hand and as a wide receiver only miss 1 week is bizarre to me. But
I still think, this is just my gut, but I still think there's an outside chance that he's active for this game. Just kind of an inkling. Even if he did, I don't think he would play that much. I think he'd be more of a decoy. But I don't know. The Chiefs can be taken advantage of by wide receivers. So, yeah, I think I've been thinking about this game hard for the last several days, trying to decide what I think about this, because I think that the 10-point spread is way too much. I don't think that there's any chance that the Chiefs beat the Seahawks by 10 points. Just because, I mean, the Chiefs have been taken to the brink by the Broncos and the Texans in the last couple of weeks.
And they lost to the Colts. Never forget that.
Yes. So this Chiefs team is definitely, I wouldn't say beatable because they beat both of those teams, but they've shown a propensity to play down to their competition. And the Seahawks' biggest issue is not that they can't score points, it's that they can't stop anyone. So the Chiefs are kind of like, the Seahawks are kind of like the Diet Chiefs, where the Chiefs kind of have the same issue where they can put up points at will, but they can't stop anybody. So this is just, I mean, there's a reason that it's a 49-point total. I think it probably goes over that. This is all the makings of a major shootout to me. I think that the drop off from Lockett to Goodwin as a full-time, Marquise Goodwin as a full-time wide receiver too, isn't going to be that dramatic. I think that Noah Fant is probably going to be a lot more involved as a consequence of Lockett being out. I also think that the Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball on the Chiefs, which is a big thing that the Seahawks haven't been able to do in their last several games. They've been either without Kenneth Walker or they've been playing like the fucking 49ers. And he even ran the ball decently well against the 49ers last week. They just were playing from behind, so they just had to pass to try to keep up.
And DK Metcalf is an absolute beast. Like, that dude is tall and built well and fast, and
he's the AJ Brown that's not getting any publicity.
And that Chiefs defense cannot stop good wide receivers. So, like,
this could be like a 200-yard receiving game
with him being the sole target with Lockett out. I mean, they'll spread the ball around. Geno will throw the ball to whoever's open. He's not going to, overthink it. But them not having like a lockdown corner that could even come close to touching him, especially as big as he is, he could have a massive game. So it's
in the cold weather, because this is a game that's supposed to be sunny, but I think that the wind chill is supposed to be like -6 at the start of the game. So I don't want to tackle DK Metcalf when it's -6 outside.
No.
It's kind of crazy if you take his combine performance and you put it up against Julio Jones, they're almost identical.
Mhm.
They're almost identical size, like height, weight, wingspan, vertical 40. Almost everything is identical except the 3-cone, because DK coming out, he had really poor lateral agility scores, which was one of the biggest reasons he fell. It was basically like, oh, this guy's just a one-trick pony. He's just a straight line burner. And he was a bit of that as his rookie year, but he's turned into a pretty good route runner. And a lot of it too is just that he's just so physically imposing that even if he's not the greatest route runner, he can still box people out and high point the ball. So yeah, so this is, I think the Seahawks are gonna, like, Travis Kelce is gonna just go fucking nuclear. The Seahawks can't stop a tight end, and you know, it's just primed for. You saw what George Kittle did last week. This is going to be a big Travis Kelce game. I think that this could very easily wind up being like a 45-38 sort of a game. And what I'm trying to decide is, it wouldn't shock me if the Seahawks upset them here. I think that there's a formula for that to happen. But I also, Vegas is good at what they do, and it's one thing to predict covering a 10-point spread. It's another thing to predict upsetting a 10-point underdog winning is just, and betting against Patrick Mahomes is just, I don't like doing that. That's a loser's game. So I wanted to pick the Seahawks, but over the last couple of days, I just think I've landed on, I think that this is going to be a close loss, something like a 3 to 7 point loss. High scoring game, hits the over. But I'm going to take the Chiefs to win, Seahawks to cover.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a barn burner, and I think it's going to be closer than it maybe even should be. Like I think I could see this being a 3-point game pretty easily, especially with the way the Chiefs have played the last few weeks. Unless they just like get a bug up their ass that they really want to smoke somebody, but I don't see that. Even if they did, I don't see it happening against Seattle. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very high-scoring, close game, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to lose this one.
And real quick, I think maybe, I don't know why this thought just crept in my head, but I was going to say opposite of the Philadelphia Eagles, who basically have the number 1 spot locked up for all intents and purposes. They could run into a scenario where they might lose that. I think Kansas City really wants that number 1 spot in the AFC, and they lost to the current number 1 seed sitting Buffalo Bills. Buffalo and Kansas City both are 11-3. Buffalo owns the head-to-head. I think you're going to see Kansas City, and what I meant when I brought up the Eagles earlier, I think you can watch them start to take their foot off the pedal because they're 12-1 or whatever. They're so far out in front of people that, you know, they don't have to keep it fully goosed the whole way. But Kansas City, I think, will use this time to accelerate and ramp up. And I think that if the playing conditions aren't going to be ideal, I love Kenneth Walker. He could very well have a very great game, but with Pacheco and more importantly McKinnon coming on strong late in the year, I think that Kansas City wants to make a statement, and they want their claim of the number 1 seed to not be in question. And I think that they're on a warpath for the remainder of the season to hope that Buffalo slips up one more time and that they fall in that spot. So I take the Chiefs, and I think that spread is there for a reason. And I think they do everything they can to hit it.
The other thing too, with Jalen Hurts being injured and potentially missing some games, Mahomes probably has the inside track, the MVP again. And so that would factor in as well, that even if they get up on a team, they're likely not going to just salt it away. They're likely going to keep going, trying to get Mahomes I think he's at 4,500 yards. So 5,000 yards is I'm sure going to be doable for him. Let me see how many stats. I want to see how many touchdowns he has this season. He's at 35 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So previous career high was his first year as a starter. He threw 50. I don't think that he's going to throw 50 touchdowns again, but he's thrown 50, 38, 37, and then 35 this year. So I think they're probably going to, they're definitely going to be doable to get into the 40, 44 range, somewhere in there. So I see they're going to keep. They're already a team that keeps the pedal to the metal, even when they have no problem blowing people out. So, yeah. And speaking of the, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we mentioned the Eagles a handful of times and the Cowboys. Is that the next game that we want to go ahead and work on?
That's right.
Sounds like a good one.
Is that where you were going? Okay.
Yep.
Eagles at Cowboys. It's the afternoon game on Saturday. 13-1. Sorry, Eagles. I deducted a win. 13-1 Eagles at the 10-4 Cowboys. 10-4 and immediately all of a sudden struggling Cowboys, it feels like. Even though they're probably not. Oh shit. Why the fuck did his name just immediately escape my head? No, the receiver that
CeeDee Lamb.
No, the free agent, the free agent receiver.
Odell Beckham.
Yeah. Is Odell going to be in Dallas? Is he talking to Jerry? Or is he?
It sounds like he's not going to be healthy enough to play this season. I think he's not passing physicals, and so he's most likely going to hold out and then be like the crown jewel of the offseason.
I wouldn't want him in my locker room after the bullshit he said, where he's like, "Why do I even got to worry about the regular season, man? I can just sit back and wait and just plop me in the playoffs, and I'll just get a ring." I'd say get as far away from my program as possible. You're a cancer, and I hope your knee never recovers. Anyway, and plus the Cowboys, they did sign T.Y. Hilton out of retirement. I don't know how much gas he still has left in the tank, but if he's on the roster, he's been on the roster now for a week. If he actually gears up and plays against an Eagles team with Garden Cashews, I don't know how much I'm believing in the Eagles this week. And I think that the Cowboys need this more. I don't think the Eagles need it as much, except for pride, but it's on the road. I mean, it is in division. I think the Cowboys, whatever the Cowboys ceiling is, I think we're going to find that this week. And the Eagles, if they win, it's only due to the fact that they are vastly more talented at every position with much more depth at every position. And they are just going to clearly run away with the NFC. But I think this week the Cowboys, I think at home they get it done.
Yeah, Hurts probably hurt. Eagles don't look like they need to play right now. Like, it's Christmas weekend. It's an away game at Dallas. Dallas is going to be not only pumped up to try to take down the Eagles, but also pumped up because that was a massive letdown last week, the way they lost that game. They're going to be looking to bounce back strong. Everything about this looks like it's a recipe for Dallas to come out and really kind of lay it on in a game where they probably don't have to lay it on, because I don't know that the Eagles are going to be trying that hard anyway.
The spread tells me that right now the total's at 47. The spread is the Cowboys are laying 5. That tells me that Vegas thinks that Minshew is going to start, because I don't think there's any way that a Jalen Hurts led Eagles are going to be giving up 5 points to the Cowboys. I think, just for the fun of it, I think you guys both took the Cowboys. I'm going to take the Eagles. If this was a full strength Eagles squad, if Jalen Hurts was starting, I'd be taking the Eagles hands down. And I don't think that Gardner Minshew is that bad. I think especially with the best offensive line in the NFL against a defense that is very talented, but also very aggressive. And I I wouldn't say they're easy to take advantage of, but they set themselves up to be taken advantage of with their like hair on fire aggressiveness. The Eagles are going to be getting Dallas Goedert back, and Gardner Minshew has had good rapport with him in the past. So you've got Minshew being dropped in here with one of the best skill position cores in the NFL, best offensive line in the NFL, playing against a team that can be taken advantage of, and it's a divisional matchup. And the Cowboys aren't known for anything if it's not choking and losing winnable games. So all of those things taken into consideration, I'm going to go with the Eagles in the ultimate humiliation upset at Jerry's World behind Garden Cashews.
And you know that Mike McCarthy's immediately going to be on the hottest seat in the entire NFL if that happens.
I forgot about Mike McCarthy. Yeah, that just makes my case even stronger. All right, I got time to do one more here. What's
I was gonna say, is there any other? Because the other games on Saturday, we got Bengals, Pats. I don't think that's that interesting. Tennessee, Houston, San Fran, and the Skins. Steelers, Raiders. I mean, that might be interesting in just that both of those teams are not that good.
Packers, Dolphins, maybe Broncos, Rams. Buccaneers, Cardinals, fuck all the way off. Chargers, Colts.
Broncos Rams game is pissing me off because it seems like there's no way that the Rams possibly win this game unless somehow Aaron Donald comes back and he's not practicing yet, which means that let me check the draft position here again. So right now, well, this is wrong.
Well, the Rams have Skonik or whatever out for the year. Skoranek, he's gone. They lost another offensive lineman. They're packing it up. They're packing it up. They're packing it in. The Broncos are at least still trying to decide what team they are to give season ticket holders hope for future years. The Rams don't have that burden, and they're playing in LA. It'll be nice in there. Is Russell back from concussion protocol?
Yep. Russ will be back. And Russ, he and the Rams have a history. So here's where the draft order right now, Houston has almost secured the number one pick. They haven't formally officially secured it, but they're 1-12-1. They're just about there. Second place is Chicago. Now, this is one of the other games that was available here was the Bears and the Bills. I think this game's actually going to be closer than Bills are favored by 9 right now. I've definitely taken the Bears to cover that. I think that there's a good chance the Bills' run defense has been dog shit lately. Mm-hmm. And the Bears, did you hear Justin Fields' comments about, he said that essentially like they don't have anything else to play for, but then he said the single game or the single season quarterback rushing record is up for grabs. And it's like 1,206 yards or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Justin Fields said, I'm only like 200 yards away from that. 200 yards, 3 games. With that 70 yards a game, that's doable. So he's already aware of it. He's already like thinking about it. He's done the math. And that's something that's on his radar. And teams love to get their players these kinds of things. Like Justin Jefferson has got a shot at Calvin Johnson's record. So I think that the Bills are going to have a hard time containing the Bears' run game, which is going to shorten the game and narrow the margin for error. And the Bills have been a little, unless Josh Allen goes fucking nuclear hero ball like he did in the last game, then this game could be pretty close. I'm definitely going to be rooting for the Bears here because the Bears are in second. They have the second pick right now. They're 3-11. Behind them is a 3-way tie at 4-10. With the Broncos, the Rams, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are playing the Bucks. That seems like the Cardinals might be the worst team in the league. The Cardinals
are going to give the Buccaneers the solid number 1 spot for the NFC South. The Buccaneers will win the division this week when the other 3 teams lose and they win and stay 2 games away from double-digit losses.
So that puts them at Arizona would be 4-11. Then the third and fourth pick teams are going to be playing each other, and neither of them has their pick. So it's going to be the Rams against the Broncos, when in reality, it's the Lions
Seattle
against the Seahawks.
yeah.
Yeah. So you could have both the Seahawks and the Lions make the playoffs and pick in the top 5, maybe even the top 3.
Yeah.
But so if the Broncos beat the Rams, then they're going to flip-flop. So put the Seahawks down into 4th place, the 4th pick. And then I don't know what the strength of schedule would be, but with Arizona, if Arizona loses like they're expected to, then the Seahawks may wind up with the 5th pick at the end of this week, which would be that would piss me off. The worst thing would be for the Seahawks to like just miss the playoffs, wind up with like the 19th pick, and then also have like the 7th pick, which I mean, yeah, you've got 2 first-round picks, but falling out of the 2nd or 3rd overall pick would be a real bummer. But anyway,
no doubt.
So, yeah, I think I might pick the Bears as an upset here, just for the fun of it.
Hell yeah. I respect that pick. I love it, actually, because yeah, they're playing at home.
I'm actually taking the only I can't see that happening. I'm going to go with an upset pick. I'm taking Houston to beat Tennessee. Houston's been playing better over the last couple weeks. Tennessee's been playing pretty shitty. I think Houston has a chance to pick up a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the only upset pick that I think there is to be made, because I don't have that much faith in the Chargers, but I have zero faith in the Colts, and it has nothing to do if they still had, man, I am losing names. If they didn't have Jeff Saturday as their coach and they had maintained their original coaching staff, same records and everything, I would say, oh, the Colts are probably going to upset the Chargers. Because I'm not a believer. The fact that the Chargers got tested that much against the Titans at home last week was fucking embarrassing. You have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Gerald Everett. You got Palmer. You got everything. First time all year playing with them all, and you have to struggle win at home against the fucking Titans that they're a one-trick pony with their best receiver out. So. Yeah, I'm going to echo what Justin said. I think the best option for an upset, which I think is the most likely, is the Texans beating the Titans. I think the Titans are they're stumbling badly. I think they're supposed to get Treylon Burks back this week, but I don't know what difference that makes at this point. And the Texans are just playing spoiler. They are the most dangerous team in the NFL, because they literally have nothing to lose. I think even though they don't mathematically have the number 1 pick confirmed, I think it's pretty much a done deal. They're going to end up with it. But if they can play spoiler to a potential playoff team, that is what they are here for. And the NFL is full of weeks like this where the Texans show up, show out, and for no fucking good reason win 32-17. And I think that this one's ripe for something like that. So good call, Justin.
I have a good idea every once in a while.
I'm going to take the Titans.
All right, we want to pick any of those games. I guess this will put the onus on Mark to get the template put together for this week, so we can actually put our picks in.
What the hell is that?
I know we haven't done it. We haven't done it the past couple weeks. The last time we did it, he forgot to post it. I'll take the blame for that. I should have just posted it anyway as soon as I saw that he didn't do it, but I thought surely he'll put it out, and then he didn't. I guess Mark's been busy. I'm gonna cut him some slack. I know he's had some shit going on. So
right on.
We'll cut him a little slack. We'll get Matt out of here so he can go do whatever it is he needs to do.
Put this little boy to bed.
Oh yeah. That's important. And you talked about picking your favorite kid. Once you have a second one, you're going to find out that it's actually a lot easier than you expected.
Picking your favorite kid is a lot easier than expected.
Fuck. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Good, fellas.
Later, man.
Yeah. Take care, Matt.
Oh, and we've got to do let's plan on let's plan on trying to get a college bowl pick'em game or pick'em show in sometime before the first, or I guess when does the first bowl game start?
Last Friday or last Saturday?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be like the 30th would be the first one.
Oh no, 16th I think was the first bowl game. Now the ones that matter,
That's what I mean. I mean like bowls that are actually like.
You're talking 2 days after Christmas, like the 28th, 29th. That's when, teams that are ranked are starting to get in there. Because like what you had last weekend was you had Florida versus Oregon State. Florida, they got fucking boat race. I think it was 30-3. I didn't even know the game was being played. Otherwise, I would have watched it. I figured it would be nothing but Akron versus Toledo that early on. But lo and behold, there were the mighty Florida Gators opening bowl season.
Hey, you want to come back tomorrow and try to do a bowl pick'em game or bowl pick'em show? Are you available?
Let's see. What is tomorrow?
Thursday, the 22nd.
Yeah, I'm available. We will be probably undergoing an ice storm, so
us too.
As long as my power line stays strong, I'll fucking be here. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's see. Armed Forces Bowl will be tomorrow. That's Baylor versus Air Force. Got any thoughts on that before we wrap this up?
Baylor. I think after watching, I haven't seen Air Force. I was thinking of the Army-Navy game.
Air Force has a better record, but I think Baylor's probably the stronger team. Just what little bit I know of. I don't know a whole lot about Air Force, but from what little bit I do know of Baylor, I feel like they're probably the better team in this game.
Of the service squads, Air Force is the one I know the least about.
They run a weird offense and basically just run the ball a whole lot.
I think that's kind of the MO of all the service teams is just triple option, run. Because we don't have athletes, we have behemoths and, just shit brick houses, and we'll just run them at you the whole time and wear you down. Because win, lose, or draw, they're still having to go out at 5:30 in the morning and run miles and, do all the military shit. So it kind of sucks. You would think that Air Force would just have air raid and would just be nothing but air game. They're really missing out on an opportunity for branding there. They probably should get me involved, but fuck that.
They need to hire us as their coaching staff. We'll just nothing but air raid offense all day long. Like we're the Air Force. Why are we not throwing the ball 100 times a game?
Exactly. I want everybody on the field to be an eligible receiver. We are rewriting the rules of football. I want nothing but 186-pound, 6'3". You're my center now. Fucking get out there because you might be catching a pass. Let's fucking run this thing out.
That's right. It's like, this guy and this guy, they're both actually down linemen. Those two guys next to the center, they're going to be eligible receivers.
I want my biggest player to be my punter because we never use him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Baylor on that game, and we'll get back tomorrow and do some bowl pick'ems. And we'll have to get up Mark's ass and tell him to get the template put out so we can get all of our other picks that we didn't do in tonight's show out there. We kept this one under 2 hours, which is incredibly impressive for one of our shows of late.
A miracle.
And then we'll be back next week to talk about whatever crazy shit happens over the weekend. You got anything you want to plug or talk about?
My shitty little podcast called Ignore the Rant finally put out an episode, first one in over 5 weeks.
I saw that.
We put it out yesterday. Title is We Are Now a Christmas Podcast, because we close out the podcast with a very necessary and helpful debate on whether or not Die Hard is or is not a Christmas movie. I will save my opinion for the episode. Go check it out. Go listen to it. We're just a bunch of dummies. It's really hard to do a current event show when you take 5 weeks off and then you come back and to like go back over the last 5 weeks and have any level of care over any of the stories. So we just kind of get together, hang out, shoot the shit. But more importantly, this coming weekend's Christmas. Hope everybody has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Go be with loved ones. Go get the fuck off the internet for a weekend and go spend time with people that actually are responsible for you being on this planet. and go enjoy your time with them because it isn't forever. And that's as dopey and gay as I'll get.
And you can check me out on Fact Check This Podcast. Next week, I will be closing out the year with what I think are possibly my 2 best episodes of the year. I'm digging into some shit in the medical field and the way modern medicine is kind of done, especially looking at some things that are going on with our friends north of the border.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely tune into those 2 next week. And
what about south of the border? Because I hear a lot of people are going down there for dental care. Is that something I should look into?
I say there are good things going on south of the border. If you need dental care, do not go north of the border. They're just going to euthanize you. It's not worth it to pull that wisdom tooth and just
go south of the border. They're just going to rub a little cocaine on it, and then you're going to feel like, well, fuck it, I'm good.
Exactly. So weigh your options and let's see. And then you can check me and Mark out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on The Morning After, which you cannot find by searching for The Morning After on YouTube because there are way too many things that are The Morning After some dumb shit. But if you look for Vasectomy Clubhouse, that will get you to us every single time, guaranteed. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. Enjoy some football, and we will catch you next week.